Okay guys, today we're going to start something called easy substitution. Really what it's called is substitution, and we're going to start with some of the easier ones today and then we'll move on to harder ones later. I'm not saying this process is easy, I'm just saying these are the easier ones. Alright, I need you paying very close attention to your notes, asking lots of questions when you're confused, because this can be very confusing to kids, okay? And then we can kind of move on, okay? Alright, substitution. So a substitute teacher is a teacher that replaces the one that you normally have, right? So substitution is all about replacing things. So here are the steps of how to do substitution, okay? At least the easier ones, alright? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to replace solved equation, and I'll explain what that means in a second. You're going to replace the solved equation into the other equation. Okay? That's the first thing you're going to do. This tends to be the hardest step for some kids because just they don't understand it in their head. They're not quite sure what's going on there. The second thing you're going to do is solve. And y'all know how to do that. We've been doing that for a while. So just solve. Okay? And then the last step, this is a step a lot of kids a lot of kids forget to do, is once they solve, I'm going to put solve for a letter. Then what you do is you solve for the other letter. Okay? Now don't write this real quick, but stuff you've seen in the past is like 2x plus 1 equals 12. And then you'd solve it and you'd tell me x equals whatever it equals, right? Okay? And then you've also seen like 2x plus 3y equals 12. And then I'd have to tell you, solve for x or solve for y, and then you'd kind of get an answer, right? What we're going to do is combining these two things together, and that's kind of what we're doing today. Alright, I'm going to leave these steps kind of to the side so I can look at them when I want to. So this is the easiest substitution system that we can have. And remember, a system has two equations. And substitution is just a way to solve a system. Okay? So, the most simple one I have is a equals 3, and then 3a plus 2b equals 19. Now, on all of these, what you're trying to figure out is what each letter equals. Like, what does A equal and what does B equal? The reason why this one is so simple is because you already know what A equals. A equals 3. But let's go ahead and solve a substitution here. The first step is to replace the solved equation into the other equation. What I mean by the solved equation is this one already says A equals. It doesn't say 3A plus 12 equals or whatever. It just says A equals. So this one's solved, and I'm going to put it into the other equation. Now, where am I going to put it? Well, this is simple. This says A, right? So this 3 right here is going to go right where the A is. So I'm going to rewrite this entire equation, but instead of A, so I'm going to put 3, parenthesis, I'm going to put 3. Plus 2b equals 19. Okay? So the hardest part for kids to understand is that says A equals 3, so I put the 3 where the A is, and then I just rewrote the whole thing. Okay? That's step 1. All you have to do is replace. Step 2 is that we solve for the letter. And here, the letter is B. So let's solve. Well, first off, let's do this. 3 times 3 is 9. So 9 plus 2b equals 19. And then we solve. Your B, 2's your best friend, kick out the 9. The opposite of positive 9 is negative 9. 2b comes down. It's a positive 2b. 19 minus 9 is 10. And then we divide by 2. This is just solving. This is nothing new. 10 divided by 2 is 5. Okay, so b equals 5. Now the last step we actually don't have to do on the super simple one. It says solve for the other letter. Well, I know b is 5. So normally, and you'll see this in a second, you'd have to figure out what A is. But on this one, I already know what A is. A is 3. So my answer I'm going to put is A equals 3 and B equals 5. Okay? Another way you could write that is you could put it as a point. Now what you're going to say is, well, there is no X and there is no Y. Correct? But these go in alphabetical order. So see how X goes before Y? So which one of these comes first, A or B? And hopefully you say A. So this would be 3 here. And then this would be 5. But you could give it to me either way. You could do this, this, or you could do this. I don't care whichever one you do, as long as this one you put it in the right order. Okay? All right, that's the super simple one. Let's look at a more challenging one. X plus 2y equals 12, or 14, sorry. X equals negative 3y plus 1. So write those two things down. My first step is to replace the solved equation into the other equation. So which one of these is solved? This one, because this says x equals. All right, this doesn't say x equals or y equals. This one does. So I'm going to put this in here. Now this is where I lose a lot of kids, okay? I have to put this whole thing, since it's not just a number anymore, it's a whole thing, put that whole thing into this equation. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm just going to take this whole thing. You don't have to draw like this, but I am. And I'm going to put the whole thing, I'm going to draw a big old line, right there. So x equals all that stuff. Well, I'm going to replace the x with it. And I like to put it in parentheses. So parenthesis, that whole thing says negative 3y plus 1 plus 2y equals 14. Okay? So pause if you didn't understand that, because that's where the hardest part comes for kids, okay? Is I just had to replace the x with what it equaled. Okay? Now, if you want to, you could put a 1 here, because if there is no number, you could put a 1, but it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to draw my line real quick. We're going to solve. Well, 1 times negative 3 and 1 times 1. This is distribution. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3y, and 1 times positive 1 is a positive 1. Plus 2y equals 14. Okay? I combine my like terms. This is just like solving. Negative 3 plus 2, you could use your head or the calculator, is negative 1y plus 1 equals 14. All I'm doing is solving. Your y, negative 1 is your best friend. Get rid of this one. The opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. Negative 1y equals 14 minus 1 is 13. And then we divide everything by negative 1. Y equals 13 divided by negative 1 is just positive 13. Okay? Now, I know that's a lot of steps. I get this, okay? So this plugs into here. We combine the like terms, and then we solve. Okay? Y is 13. Now, the last step that we do have to do on this one is solve for the other letter. So I have y, but I don't know what x equals. So you're going to substitute again. Well, y equals 13, right? So I'm going to put that 13 where the y is. So I'm going to put x equals negative 3, parenthesis, but instead of y, the y you told me is 13. Plus 1. Okay? Negative 13 times, or sorry, negative 3 times 13. Let me turn this on. Negative 3 times 13. Oh, geez, wrong, sorry. Negative 3 times 13 is negative 39. And then I put plus 1. And I get negative 38. So x equals negative 38. Okay? So you could just write that. X equals negative 38 and y equals 13. That's fine. You could give me that as an answer. Or you could put it as a point, where x is negative 38 and y is 13. Both are okay. Alright? Alright, let's try that again. I know it's not easy, guys. I promise. Okay, 9x plus 3y equals 9, and y equals 2x plus 8. So replace the solved equation into the other equation. So which one of these are solved? This one's solved, because it says y equals. So I'm going to put this whole thing here. I'll move it where the y is. Okay? So I'm going to rewrite this whole equation, 9x plus 3, but instead of y, I'm going to write all this stuff, 2x plus 8. Equals 9. Okay? First step, replace. Second step, solve. Second step is to solve. So I'm going to distribute. Okay? So I'm going to distribute first. It's the easiest thing to do. Okay? I'm going to rewrite my 9x. 3 plus 2 is 6. 3, not plus 2, gosh. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 8 is 24. Good. So I distribute. I combine my like terms. So 9 plus 6 is 15x plus 24 equals 9. And then I solve. I'm X, 15 is my best friend, get rid of the 24. 9 minus 24 is negative 15, if you can see that. And then I divide by 15. So X equals negative 15 divided by 15 is negative 1. Okay? X is negative 1. And then the last step is you solve for the other letter. So I have X. Now I need to figure out what Y is. So I'm going to plug that X in where it says X there. Okay? So Y equals 2, parenthesis, instead of X, you told me X is negative 1, plus 8. Okay? 2 times negative 1 plus 8. Now if you want to, you can plug that whole thing in the calculator just as it looks. Just type it all in like that. 2 times negative 1 plus 8. And you will get a positive 6. So Y equals 6. So you can give me that as your answer. Y equals 6 and X equals negative 1. That is true. Or if you wanted to, you could write it as a point. Remember, X goes first, so negative 1. And then Y is 6 there. Both of those are correct. And I don't know which way your algebra teacher is going to have you do it. Okay? I'm not going to go over this last example for you, but just yet again, you're going to replace the solve equation into the other equation. Then you're going to distribute, combine like terms, solve like you need to, and then replace it on the other one. Real quick, just for your notes here, where it says to solve for a letter, I want you to go ahead and write how you do that. The first thing you would do is you would distribute. The second thing you do is you would combine your like terms. I'm just going to put CLT, but you could write combine like terms. And then the third thing you're going to do is solve. Those are the methods of solving. Okay? I know it's not easy. I know it's kind of confusing. It's weird. It's something you haven't really done before. But I need you asking questions. Okay? Get to work.